So first things first, did I really drive 2 hours just to watch this 1.5 hour movie and then drive 2 hours back? Yeah, of course I did. Don't ask any stupid questions. Hi y'all, I'm Bayfond, and today we're gonna review Kaguya-sama Love is War, the first kiss that never ends. The series' first and probably only theatrical release. And well, was my 2-hour drive worth it? Well, you'll see. So for starters, I think the biggest and most important question when it comes to anime movies is whether or not it actually needed to be a movie. And to put it as gently as I can, no, this definitely didn't really need to be a movie. The story structure and the way that the plot is outlined is no different than actually watching a few episodes from the season. Sitting down and watching this in theaters was a lot more similar to, sitting down at home and just binging a few episodes. And needless to say, that isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, we're talking about Kaguya-sama here, one of the, if not the greatest romance manga to come out in recent years. And I would say that in almost every single category, they deliver just as they always do. It's just that when it comes to like an anime movie, you're probably just not expecting it to stop there. I feel like this franchise as a whole has been known for just pushing the envelope of what it can do. I mean, we've seen from the anime adaptation just how much it actually dives into the source material and expands on a lot of the scenes and chapters that we've seen. And the movie definitely felt like you were watching the show, but it didn't feel like you were watching the climax of everything. Before I get into any of that other stuff, I want to talk about the positives, because there's a lot of them. The story does exactly what you need it to do when expanding on the relationship between Miyuki and Kaguya. And I don't want to go into spoilers yet, but I just want to say that this movie does a great job in containing just one love story, a cohesive one that goes from beginning to end. It feels like there's almost no time that they're not on screen, basically cutting out a lot of the other side stories that might not have been as cohesive as just showing this one. And it makes the story very focused. The comedy and the drama are always on point with this series. That's mostly Aka Akasaka's work here, but the animators definitely know where and when to insert certain scenes or just emphasize moments to make it just so much better. That charm that you've already become a fan of because you're a fan of the series is still here. And another thing that I'd like to mention on the animators' part is how well done some of the serious scenes look. Kaguya, again, as a series, has never faltered on animation. Just look at the entirety of Season 3's finale. It looks amazing. But where I would say that was more based off of the locations and the setting and how that looked, here we get a bigger emphasis on the actual character designs. There are definitely some scenes that have the character shaded in a particular way that makes it look a lot more cinematic. And while that feeling might not have been there all the time, when he was there, it was incredibly well done. And the last thing I would say that really brought up my enjoyment while watching the series was the audience that was with me. Usually when you go in to watch an anime movie, the vibes are always gonna be fantastic. The crowd's investment to the story really makes a big difference when everyone's gasping and laughing at the same stuff. From what I can tell, the hype was very real. And I would say in my audience and the ones that I had over at Disney Springs, there was even some cosplayers for Kaguya and Hayasaka that were there. And they looked absolutely stunning. And I would have taken a picture of them if they weren't being swarmed by absolutely everyone else in the theater. So yeah, only the best there. And now I want to talk about the parts that I think held this back. And be warned, at this point, I am gonna talk spoilers. So, you ready? Ishigami got absolutely snubbed this time around, and I don't think that I'm the only person that's saying this. I mean, when looking at the official artwork in the trailers, it makes it seem like we're actually gonna get his arc that goes on, like the Christmas party one, the one that everyone was pretty much hyped for, but that's skipped over. And well, from a story standpoint, that makes sense because we're focusing on Kaguya and Shirogane, but still, I feel like you're not able to tell the full story without telling that part as well, because I think that would have been a much bigger emotional draw for a lot of people. When the credits were starting to roll, there was like a palpable sense of denial going in the audience. You could hear people asking if this is all they're gonna show. And while waiting through the entire credits, at the very end, there was a collective sigh among everyone there. But my thoughts on this are, they're probably not gonna skip over this entire part completely. They're most likely gonna start off Season 4 using this arc. So I guess in a way, it's kind of like building hype, maybe? And when I said that the story kind of met its criteria, it's mostly based on like my maybe personal feelings on this arc as a whole, the Ice Kaguya arc. Because in my opinion, I think this is probably the most hit and miss arc of the entire series. Sure, we get a hell of a lot more character development in Miyuki and Kaguya, and we get a lot more growth in their characters, but that's not before we take quite a few steps back. My biggest complaint with this entire arc is that it essentially drags on a little bit too much. When a situation can be resolved a few chapters earlier, it isn't, and it keeps going and going. To be honest, I think this is the main reason why they made this entire part into a movie, because it's more digestible to watch it all at once, and people might not like it as much if you have this as a weekly episodic thing. This is the best way to resolve those issues that can sometimes become a little bit bland. I think they adapted it in a really good way, but it didn't elevate what the original story was doing. And another thing, from a pro that I said before, there's a con here because a lot of our supporting cast is pushed to the side. It's a shame that we only get a few lines from Shirogane's dad, and Chika only has like 1 or 2 bits as a whole. Hell, they actually cut out the entire mall chapters with Daddy in the East and Subject F, when I honestly think that they were probably some of the funniest chapters that we got in the series. All in all, I would say that this movie is equivalent to just the good episodes of the series, but not the best ones. My hope is that when they release season 4, cause it's gonna happen, they're gonna go back and basically do a Demon Slayer treatment, making episodes from the movie and expanding on them, or even just some aspects of them, because we definitely need to see Ishigami's story continue here, and honestly, that's probably the best way to start off season 4. But as I can always expect with the series, it was a fun, lovable watch, and I hope to see more in the future. If you've seen this movie, whether it be on Valentine's Day like I did, or before, hey, let me know in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you think I'm absolutely wrong? I'm all ears. And with that, I'll wrap this up. As always, I was Bayfond, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.